Good afternoon, everyone. It is January 28th, 2021. I'm Eric. In my previous video of today, I talked about doing a more detailed video regarding the National Terrorism Advisory System Bulletin issued by Homeland Security. And there's other pieces on this that I will go through and try to hit down or hit both of them. The article not in complete detail, but the other as much detail as possible. Now, this comes from Mass Private Eye and is on blacklisted news for any of you who would like to read through the whole thing. If you like my content, please do remember to give me a thumbs up, maybe a share, and subscribe. I also have a channel on Bitchute, and that could use some good loyal subscribers as well. Alright, this author says living through the years of Occupy, Black Lives Matter protests, and watching nothing change can make one angry beyond words. Especially after last year's protest, when things look like they might actually change, as politicians seem to care about ending police violence, but instead gave us watered-down police reform bills. And remember, the video I did previously showed, or talked about rather, two instances of children. And one of them, a girl who was knocked out at school. A recent Homeland Security National Terrorism Advisory Bulletin proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that absolutely nothing has changed. You see, the Democrats did a bait and switch on people. They baited them with the idea of defunding police, and then once they got their way, they switched that idea up and instead gave those people so-called police reform bills. Right? And I know a lot of people out there think it's a crazy idea to defund police. However, let me point out that I don't think that goes far enough. I think that the entire system should be defunded by the American people, not just law enforcement. And I know probably a lot of people would get hurt from something like that happening, but allow me to point out that a lot of people already get hurt. Allow me to point out that in the 20th century, government was responsible for about 250 million deaths of their citizens, and that does not include combatants. So, somebody said in my comment to a video that be careful, the solution isn't worse than the problem. And I agree with that. I do. But it's kind of hard to get much worse than living under the thumbs of authoritarians. Kind of hard. So let's go over here and see what this bulletin says. See if it's as alarming as people claim. So here's a summary. And again, this is National Terrorism Advisory System Bulletin, published January 27th, 2021. Summary. The Acting Secretary of Homeland Security has issued a National Terrorism Advisory System Bulletin. Due to a heightened threat environment across the United States, which DHS believes will persist in the weeks following the successful presidential inauguration. Information suggests that some ideology-motivated violent extremists with objections to the exercise of governmental authority and the presidential transition, as well as other perceived grievances fueled by false narratives, could continue to mobilize, to incite, or commit violence. All right. Okay. So, it's not only talking about groups like the Proud Boys. It's not only talking about groups like Antifa or any number of militias. It's talking about literally anybody who does not like governmental authority. And they claim that grievances are fueled by false narratives. The problem here is most of the grievances are not fueled by false narratives. Right? I mean, we have been robbed blind during this pandemic, haven't we? And then, as a method of pacification, fed little breadcrumbs, while numerous foreign countries got tens of millions, if not billions, of our tax dollars. I would call that a pretty legitimate grievance, wouldn't you? I'd also consider some of the actions taken by law enforcement to be legitimate grievances. And these grievances taken are because or as a result of their actions are not what they called false narratives. But let's go on. Details. Throughout 2020, domestic violent extremists, or DVEs, targeted individuals with opposing views engaged in First Amendment protected violent protest activity. That's what the police do, isn't it? And don't they, target some of these peaceful protesters? I think they do. I'm pretty sure I've seen people acting in peaceful ways being sprayed in their face with that pepper spray that they use, or mace, or whatever the chemical is. Pretty sure I've seen people behaving in a peaceful manner and still being assaulted in many, many different ways. Right? DVEs are motivated by a range of issues, including anger over COVID-19 restrictions, the 2020 election results, police use of force, and according to them, have plotted and on occasion carried out attacks against government facilities. All right, so let's go back to the COVID-19 restrictions. So we had these mayors or governors, some cases both, who determined for everybody else what essential was, what a essential business is, or what is considered an essential business, right? And in doing so, they have cost many of these business owners their business. And in those people's lives, a domino effect, right? A domino effect of major life-altering problems. And then you had the people who lost their jobs. Same thing. They lose their job, and then a whole bunch of dominoes start falling right behind that. Wouldn't you say that it's fair to call that a legitimate grievance, both of them? Wouldn't you say that it's a legitimate grievance if one of these LEOs show up at a call and end up killing one of your family members? I'd say that's probably a legitimate grievance. So where they get this this idea that these are false narratives, that is what you call gaslighting there. All right. Long-standing racial and ethnic tension, including opposition to immigration, has driven DVE attacks, including a 2019 shooting in El Paso, Texas, that killed 23 people. DHS is concerned these same drivers to violence will remain through early 2021, and some DVEs may be emboldened by the January 6th, 2021 breach of the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. to target elected officials and government facilities. DHS remains concerned that homegrown violent extremists, or HVEs, inspired by foreign terrorist groups who committed 3 attacks targeting government officials in 2020, remain a threat. Threats of violence against critical infrastructure, including the electric, telecommunications, and healthcare sectors, increased in 2020, with violent extremists citing misinformation and conspiracy theories about COVID-19 for their actions. I'd like to see specifically what misinformation that they are referring to and the conspiracy theories. DHS, as well as other federal agencies and law enforcement partners, will continue to take precautions to protect people and infrastructure across the United States. DHS remains committed to preventing violence and threats meant to intimidate or coerce specific populations on the basis of their religion, race, ethnicity, or ethnicity rather, identity, or political views. Well, let me stop right there. Didn't that congresswoman from California talk about what was her name? That old black lady. Didn't she tell everyone to go and harass Trump supporters and all that? And didn't other government officials do similar things? How come they didn't go and arrest her? She was inciting violence. DHS encourages state, local, tribal, and territorial homeland security partners to continue prioritizing physical security measures, particularly around government facilities, to protect people and critical infrastructure. Types of advisories. Bulletin describes current developments or general trends regarding threats of terrorism. Elevated alert warns of a credible terrorism threat against the United States. Imminent alert warns of a credible, specific, and impending terrorism threat against the United States. Okay, how you can help. We ask the public to report suspicious activity and threats of violence, including online activity, to local law enforcement, FBI field offices, or their local fusion center. But fusion centers were a conspiracy theory a few years back, weren't they? Just a conspiracy theory. But here it is in a bulletin from Homeland Security. Your choice can make a difference. Choose nonviolent ways to make your voice heard and support friends and family in doing the same. Well, here's the thing. Every time we get a way to voice our opinions or have our voices heard, our videos are taken down, our posts are deleted, we get banned, right? Communities are strongest when they are not divided. Strengthen your community by standing together against violence. Now, would that include statist violence? Probably not. Be prepared. Avoiding large crowds, including protests, is the safest due to ongoing pandemic conditions. However, if taking part in protests, do so peacefully, safely, and wear masks. Be responsible for your personal safety, but don't carry a gun, right? Or possess body armor or Kevlar helmets. But, be responsible for your personal safety. Make note of your surroundings and security personnel. Carry emergency contacts as well as medical and other needs information with you. Connect, plan, train, and report to prepare businesses and employees. And that's actually a really good thing for people to do right there, except not for these purposes. Connect, plan, train to resist. That's That's what should be done. Connect, plan, train to resist. Forget about reporting. Don't be a snitch. Okay? Stay informed. Local, state, and federal agencies will provide specific information about emerging threats as additional information is identified. The public is encouraged to listen to local law enforcement and public safety officials. Last year, DHS released a Homeland Security threat assessment to the public, examining the threat environment through 2021. The DH lexicon on terrorism includes terminology for DVEs and HVEs. And tomorrow I will take a look and go over the Homeland Threat Assessment. So, there it is. There it is. Tell me, what do you think? I think that it's a bunch of bullshit. I think Homeland Security is a bunch of bullshit. And not the concept of Homeland Security, but the agency. Well, it's just another statist action taken against the public of the United States. Hope you all have a great day, and until next time, kill the state and live free.